Welcome everyone to another episode of Modern Dentist with me, Dr. Sonia Schmotsky, founder and CEO of 32Co. And today we have with us Dr. Faris.
Yes.
So the reason that we brought Faris in is because we know that clinicians in the UK, actually all across the world, are looking to build more variety into their careers. And you are a perfect example of that. So even at the young age that you are, you've done more than most to expand beyond your clinical career. And I thought it would be great to talk about that for all of those people who are thinking, look, I have more to give than just doing daily dentistry. What else could I do? How do I even get started? And what do I need to change in the way I'm working at the moment to make that dream a reality? So welcome, Faris.
Thank you.
I'll let you do a quick intro and then we can dive straight into your journey.
Yeah. So as Sonia said, my name's Faris. Hi, nice to meet everyone here. So I'm a foundation dentist starting off in this lovely world of dentistry, learning a bit more about the whole career. And, I had a interesting kind of, route into dentistry and had a lot of fantastic experiences along the way. And I guess some of them will kind of divulge into in this podcast, but it's kind of built around this notion of, trying to explore things slightly outside of dentistry. I'm sure there's some of you listening today that might be thinking, hey, dentistry is amazing. I love it. It's a great career. But there are other things that I've, kind of felt my true calling, or there's other things I'd like to explore. But we as dentists, we kind of get, pigeonholed into this idea of, you've got to do step 1, step 2, step 3. But sometimes there's little bits that you can go and explore and learn about. And that's what we kind of want to talk about today.
Yeah. I think, the podcast is called The Modern Dentist for a reason. And it's because we recognize that there's a difference between clinical life of old, where you kind of, you sort of sign up, you get on the treadmill and you retire at a certain age and you kind of go into the medical or dental profession that you signed up for, and nothing really changes. Yeah. And what we're seeing, and this is in every career, I think, is that people they're finding different things to do in and among their professional life, either things that are hobbies that are interest for them, or things that are add-ons to their careers. And dentistry is no different. So a modern dentist in these days should be thinking about all the other things that they might want to do to supplement their dentistry, not just from a financial perspective, actually just from an existential perspective, and from the viewpoint of, look, I'm an intelligent, well-educated person. There is so much more in addition that I could also be offering the world, and that would really make my life fulfilling, and that would make going to work every day interesting because it's varied and there's a lot going on. So I don't know what your views are on that, Faris.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because nowadays you get to see such a wide variety of careers. You get to see everyone doing really interesting things online. I'm sure if any of you are on LinkedIn every single week, you see someone new doing something a bit more, explorative. Especially with dentistry, it's a really, really interesting field because I feel like for many, many years, there's not been, massive changes. But in the recent years, things have changed. We've got a lot of new companies. We have 32Co, and where we're at now, we have so many different places that are trying to experiment and do new things. And this is like the perfect time for a dentist to explore and look into what else is out there. Absolutely. Whether you're young, old, whatever stage in the career that you're in, there's so much to do. And I guess today it'll be fun to explore how you can get into it, what things you can look into, and what doors are there to be opened. Yeah. Which I think will be.
So why don't we kick off with which doors did you open, kick down, or however you want to think about it, to sort of to get to where you are now, and what has the journey been like for you?
Yeah. So I think it kind of starts off with why exactly I enjoyed dentistry as a career. Now, I won't give the general answer of even though I did have braces for like 3 years, but I didn't have the bog standard answer of like had braces, I enjoyed the experience, I want to do dentistry. It was more about the type of career that I'll be going into. I love the flexibility. I love the fact that you were very person-centered. You're right in front of the people, building rapport, learning new things. And on the side of that, I also like the fact that, because you have flexibility, you can explore other things. So even when I was applying at dental school, I remember in one of my interviews, I said, one of the reasons why I love it so much is because it's going to allow me to be a great dentist, yes, but I'm going to be able to explore other passions and build myself out with other things. So it was kind of deep-rooted in me from a very, very early age. Maybe also because my parents were kind of like, hey, Faris, look, if you do something, just make sure you're good at it. And from that, I realized, okay, cool, let me just try and see how many things I can explore. And that's kind of taken me on the journey that I'm on at the moment. starting off when I was at dental school during COVID. I think the first exploration I took was like starting my YouTube channel, my social media pages, where I basically helped kids get into dental school from different backgrounds. I realized it was quite a tough time, especially when I had a very privileged upbringing with my application. To give back was really exciting. And then from there, it kind of developed further and further, coming here, 32Co, learning about startups, getting some insights into what it's like to do something in dentistry, but kind of, both ends, the bit that I liked with the entrepreneurship, with the flexibility, but also bringing back to the career that I've dedicated the last few years to. So yeah, so my journey's kind of been quite varied. I'd kind of summarize it as any time that I've had an opportunity or I've had something that I can do, I've just said yes, and then I worry about the situation later. Especially when you're young, it's important to just soak everything up as a sponge and then reflect on it after to see, okay, cool, what was that experience like? What did I learn? And how can I bring it back to dentistry or whatever career I want to go down? So
you went into first content creation. I mean, that's, I guess, kind of a natural thing to do if you're relatively extroverted, you like talking and you've got something to say. So was that dental related content? So it's an area that you know a lot about. And then you went into, we'll talk about, your first forays into like health tech startup life with us. But what else have you done around that? What have you played around with? What have you tried?
Yeah, so alongside working here and alongside doing the social media stuff, I'm also kind of starting my own things. So I think, the best way to do something is to just, you have to do it. It's good to observe, it's good to learn, but sometimes you just have to take that big step and do. So I've kind of started two of my own little mini startups and businesses, one called Auralyze.ai, which basically feeds on this whole process that I got from my social media, where I realized there's a lot of kids out there that don't know how to get into dental school. Tuition is extortionate, and unless you go to a great school, you may never get in. So the platform that I'm trying to create is basically like an AI-based admissions helper that helps kids from any background get insights into how they can improve their answers for interviews, how they can improve their applications. And then the second one, which is a bit more of a product-based business, is based on kind of, making toothpaste a bit more fun. So there's like these lovely toothpaste tabs, different flavors with, small enhancements like caffeine and other little things that would be adding to, make brushing your teeth a little bit more exciting. So those are the kind of things that I'm working on right now that are a bit different.
Love it. And I'm sure lots of people who are listening to this going like, wow, that is a lot to have done already. And I wouldn't even know where to start.
Yeah.
But I think you said something quite interesting there, and I completely agree that it's very good to sit down with a pen and paper and think about it and analyze and read up and pontificate. But actually, the only way to know whether you can do something is just to get stuck in and do it. Like, explain how that works. Like, what does that actually look like?
Yeah, so I think when it comes to kind of finding opportunities and thinking about, okay, cool, well, it sounds amazing to do all this stuff, but how do you start? It begins with the exact concept you get taught at university, sixth form, wherever you're at. Even when you're out in the wide world, you need to gather knowledge. You need to know what you're going to get into before you do anything, and that comes in many different ways. That can come from your own explorations online. Just looking. Let's say you look at a company and you're like, oh, that's really cool. The first thing you can do, look it up, look at how they built their businesses, interesting podcasts, books, any kind of content that you can absorb and learn about. That's kind of stage one. The next thing that you kind of need to start doing is speaking to the people that are in the position that you want to be in. So I'll often find myself, when I find someone interesting, I'll just go online, go on social media, drop them a message, be like, hey, my name's Faris, bit of information, I'd love to chat to you. And it works wonders. I'll give you that. So once you've kind of got your knowledge, you've met someone, you've had some insights. After that, it's kind of applying what you've learned. And that's the doing stage. And it's the scariest stage because you need to become very, very, very comfortable with failing, and failing a lot, and failing publicly. You can't start anything and expect to be good at it. And the way you kind of do things and do them in an effective manner is take the learnings you've got, apply them, and constantly reevaluate. Okay, cool, I learned this about this business, I talked to this person, I'm doing it now, but I'm having this challenge. What can I do? And it kind of keeps going back into this like sometimes vicious cycle of start something, fail, iterate, start something, fail, iterate, change. And with time and with enough persistence and with the end goal in sight, you'll generally get to a point where you're like, okay, cool, I think I found something that works, and then you run with it. And to be honest, I still haven't hit that stage. I'm still learning. I'm still trying to find something that's going to fully stick. But all I do know is every opportunity that I do take, or everything that I do, aligns with some sort of goal that I have. That's kind of the best way to get things going.
It's funny that you say that. You said, with the end goal in mind. A lot of people contact me and ask for help on how do I even know what my end goal is. I'm like brimming with energy and enthusiasm, and I know that I want to do something. I I don't necessarily know what, but I know that I want to do something. Can you help me think about what the options are? And maybe it's helpful to just explain how you think about the end goal, in case it's helpful for someone else who's like, who's in that position and perhaps feels like they're spinning their wheels a bit in a stationary position.
Yeah, I think it's, so when you think about an end goal, it's a paradoxical thing, because if you look too far ahead and you look at people that have done it, you hit that point where you're like, oh my God, I have no idea how to get there. The way I do it is kind of in a bit of a, like working backwards. So I'll be like, okay, cool. Well, this is where I want to be. It's really cool. And the way you get to that stage is it's just a personal thing. You need to just explore a lot, gather a lot of knowledge, try a lot of different things. And that's why I mentioned this whole idea of, find these opportunities, do different things, talk to people. And once you've had enough opportunities, you'll start realizing you like certain things. Like I tried, like content writing, blog writing for a long time, and I enjoyed it. It was fun, but I was like, is this something I want to do for the rest of my life? Probably not. So are you okay? Cool, close that door. Next thing. And as you go through the process, you'll eventually find things that, one, align with your natural skills and ability. Every single person is good at something. For me, one thing that I'm sometimes really bad at is splitting workload. And whenever I'm in a team, I'll be like, yeah, I just want to do everything. So I learned, okay, cool, maybe not the best thing for me to do. And so all in all, to get to that end goal, it's just a lot of practice. Again, you're going to hear this a lot of failing, a lot of trying, until you hit a point where you're like, okay, cool, I'm good at these things. I enjoy these things. Now let me find something I can pour my energy into that encompasses all the little things that I've identified. So the things that I'm good at, the things that I enjoy, and something that will give me a career or give me an outlet that is sustainable. Yeah. That's kind of how I got to that stage.
Yeah. I would probably reiterate that and say, I think what you're saying is you're never going to know, and just be super flexible with what the end goal is going to be, but don't ever say no to an opportunity to learn about whether you're going to, whether it's actually good or bad, whether you enjoy it, whether you hate it, and you'll navigate your way to the end goal, and it'll almost never be the thing that you set out to do in the first place. So be totally fine with that. Interesting about reaching out to people. I think, for me as well, when I got started a long time ago, lots and lots of people helped me out. People giving away their time for free for no reason other than to like help out a younger person. And I do that a lot now, if people reach out. But what would your advice be, to a younger Faris now, having been through this period of actually learning a lot, still not being done by any means, but, for people who are literally just starting, what's the first thing that you do to open up the first door?
Okay, it's a good question. So the first thing I would do is firstly and this is super simple, literally just have a sit down with yourself and think, what do I like to do? That's the very first step. There's no point in, because sometimes people reach this stage where they're like, okay, I don't know where to start. So you have to just sit down. It's really simple. What do you like to do? At the end of the day, that's what life's all about. It's doing things you enjoy, and, don't do too much enjoyment. You have to at least have a bit of an income, but do things that you like. So find that first. After you kind of reach that point and you found something that you like, it's time to think about, okay, what's the next step? What can I actually do? And you kind of look at your current situation, what you're doing in your life, and think, okay, cool, what's the easiest thing? And I always recommend, this is personally my favorite thing, is go and literally Google the thing that you're thinking about. Have a look, because now what you've done is it's kind of this idea of, if you write something down, you're more likely to do it. It's just because you're forcing yourself to be like, okay, cool, I'm committing time to this particular action, and it will start getting the cogs turning. Because when you start, you genuinely have no idea. So start Googling, finding people, and then my next big step is exactly as I said back to the beginning, is message someone, talk to someone. You just have to do it. And I think it's such a low energy cost thing. Like when I started off, I think back to my work experience when I was applying, I think I emailed about 150, 200 dentists until I got an answer from one who told me, actually, no, I'm not going to be able to do your work experience. And then you start the process all over again. So, find the information, keep messaging people, talk to people that have done it before, and then just find a way to talk to them, speak to them, learn from them. There is definitely going to be someone out there in some capacity that's doing something related to what you like that will give you 20 minutes in their day. I'm sure as well with yourself, Sonia, you've had people reach out to you and you're like, hey, cool, this person seems interested. Let me chat to them. Let me send them a message. Once you've reached that point, you've kind of got your foot in the door. Now you're significantly further ahead than the average person because you're talking to someone that's doing it, and you've left that stage of, I'm not sure, and you've got into a stage of, okay, I'm not sure, but I kind of have someone there that, knows what to do. And then from that point, it just gets to the point of, okay, action. So talk to someone, you've got all your information. Now, what can I physically do with this knowledge? Look for jobs, look for opportunities. Maybe if it's a skill you need to develop, start going on some courses. Skillshare is amazing. I use Skillshare for a lot of stuff. I remember.
What is Skillshare, just for people who know?
Skillshare is basically this online course website that allows you, for a small subscription, you can actually get 3 months free. Look out for that. But for a small subscription, you can learn about different things. If you do a few courses for a couple of hours, you've already gained a bunch of skills that you can apply somewhere. And I've talked to Sonia about this before. A lot of things are it's a value transaction. So once you reach that point, you can then start going to people that are in the field and be like, hey, I've got these skills. I know it's valuable to you. I'd love to work for you. I'd love to do this, or I'll even do some things for free. And then as you do that more and more, and you start accumulating things and you start recording what you're doing and you improve, with time, eventually, you'll get to a stage where, okay, I can actually turn this into a career, or I can actually go to the next level. I always think about it like the gym. It's like progressive overload. Once you do that first task, lift that first weight of getting the contact and doing a bit of work, you should progressively make it harder. So, okay, I now wrote blogs for, company number 1. I did about, 10 in a month. Now I'm going to go somewhere else and do 20. And now I want to do different content. I'm going to do a bit of, education, some entrepreneurship, some dentistry. It's kind of like a progressive thing that never really ends until you reach that end goal that you've supposedly got in your mind. And yeah, that's kind of the route that I take.
You touched on something interesting there, which is do something for free. And I think that's something worth talking about, because when you're a highly paid dentist, and let's face it, dentists are well paid compared to the sort of average person in the UK. You're highly educated, you have skills that you think you can share. I think sometimes the expectation is, look, I'm a pretty valuable asset. If I'm going to go and try something new, I should probably be being paid for this. I have strong views on this. I think that if you're trying something new, you should dive in head first, 2 feet first, and just do as much as you can for free, just to see whether this is right for you, and to show willing and to show that you're passionate and able to learn. It's not that you're not worth money. It's not that it's not worth paying you. It's just that if everything suddenly has a monetary value, you will approach it in a very different way to just saying, look, I'm just going to throw myself into this. I'm not expecting to be paid. I'm here to learn, and I'm open to feedback and all the rest of it. What's your view on that?
Absolutely. I think this is one of the beauties of dentistry, is that you get paid very well. You have a fantastic career. You don't necessarily have to work 5 days a week. Now, instead of on that extra day off, maybe doing some extra lab work or doing some, other random hobby, you can spend a little bit of time. And this is actually one of the points with, exploring any kind of extra side hustle or gig or thing you want to explore, is you have to sacrifice a bit of time to learn. But yeah, doing things for free is such an amazing way to start, because, this is where it gets interesting. When you think about value as a dentist, yes, the values that we have are, fantastic, and the way that we work, and, the cost amount that you get from every treatment that you do is fantastic. But if you're going to explore something new, you have to make a bit of a sacrifice, and that sacrifice in experience comes at a cost. But at the end of the day, you're going to learn new skills. You're going to learn new things that you can apply. And who knows, it might actually feed back into your dentistry. And that kind of feeds into the whole concept of, the conversation we're having today, which is, how can you, be a bit more of a modern dentist? How can you change things up? How can you do things in a way that isn't conventional? Because that's what the best people do. They might take something very, very boring, normal, or linear in fashion, and just add their own little twist to make it their own. And but all in all, you should do things for free. Absolutely, you should.
I might change that. I might suggest changing that word sacrifice to invest.
Yeah.
Because you're investing time. It should be considered a positive thing and something that you look forward to doing. And your time and money is a resource, and those are the things that you've got at your disposal, and it's always a trade-off between the two. And if you're looking at the here and now, obviously the cash in hand is the thing that's going to be king. But if you're thinking about, what am I going to be in 10 years' time, if not just doing this, then invest some of your time into building that reality.
True.
Another thing that you touched on, which I think comes to the point where you say, well, look, sit down and think about, what am I good at? A lot of clinicians, and I kind of have this from my own experience, will say, well, look, I'm really good at dentistry. I spent loads of time doing it. And then the natural assumption to make is, okay, I'm going to go into teaching. I'm going to go into teaching others. That's a really common route for all clinicians to go into. I did it. So my first business about 15 years ago was also an education and tutoring business. It was about passing on knowledge and helping people get into STEM STEM subjects at Oxbridge, but it seems so natural because that's what you know really well how to do, and it's what a lot of people do. Now there are pros and cons to that. It means that there are lots of people doing it, which means that there's lots of competition, which means that you really have to differentiate yourself and do something truly unique if you're going to set up a course or a tool. But at the same time, because you're already good at it, it's more likely that you're going to succeed in some way. You're going to learn something. What's your view? Is that your experience as well?
Absolutely. I think it's, I don't want to misquote, but I think it's like the concept of Occam's razor, where you kind of take the simplest or the truest path. And the reason why teaching comes so naturally, especially as a dentist, is because that's what you're doing every day with the patient. You know, you're talking to them, you're explaining to them different concepts, you're able to break things down that are really, really difficult and, you know, might have taken us years to understand in a few moments and a few simple words to a patient. Why not just do that on a bigger scale when you're teaching, doing courses, or going back to university and doing your own lectures? And the way I would kind of dissect that and allow a person to think of it in a slightly different route, just a slight different perspective, is it's not that you're good at teaching, it's that you're a good communicator. So it's a wider skill. Now, when you think of it in a wider fashion, you can start identifying, okay, well, I'm really good at this particular skill. I'm not good at dentistry just because I'm good with my hands. I'm a fantastic communicator. I'm a fantastic leader. I know how to, identify weaknesses in a team and improve them. I know how to make my patient feel comfortable. How can I dissect that, take those skills and apply it to this external passion that I feel I want to explore? So one way would be teaching. Another way would be, for example, similar to yourself, like, starting a business with, like, related to communication, relating to starting, like, supporting people getting into a particular route. There's so many different ways that you can dissect the skill that you have and then apply it to different mediums. And sometimes, this is the honest truth, sometimes you have to force yourself to think outside of dentistry as well. If you're a fantastic communicator, you'll be, or fantastic leader, you'll be fantastic at, helping develop teams at different companies, corporations. Maybe you're going to be fantastic at explaining the importance of rapport and empathy at different places. So it's a challenge because even for myself, I sometimes feel my skills are only really valuable in dentistry. But if you take a step back, there's a reason why there are a bunch more medicine graduates going into consulting, and a lot of these fields that need, strategic thinking and fantastic communicators and good knowledge and, being quick on your feet. It's really representative in dentistry as well. So all in all, what I'd say about that is, instead of thinking of, okay, what's the most direct and easiest thing I can go into with the skills that I have, think about, okay, what are the weird things I can explore? What things fit these passions and, as we said, gathering that knowledge, those insights, and what skills do I have that align with that and allow me to take a more interesting route? Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about and taking your lead on finding people who can help you.
Yeah.
I think one of the questions that is very fair that someone might ask is, well, I don't know what I don't know.
Yes.
I get the teaching thing, can totally visualize that.
True.
But I don't know what I don't know. I don't know anything about startups. I don't know anything about tech. I don't know anything about consulting. I don't know anything about finance. How am I supposed to know this stuff?
Yeah.
And I think this is where the mentorship comes in. And I think the word mentor gets thrown around quite a lot. But ultimately, think of mentor in this context as just being anyone who knows something different or has a different set of experiences.
Yeah.
So when you work with someone of that type, and let's call them a mentor for now, one of the things that I found most helpful, because I've had many of them, is accountability.
Yeah.
So saying to you, okay, so you kind of have all these ideas and what are you going to do with them? And how are you going to know that you've actually succeeded, or how are you going to make sure that in X amount of time you've actually done something, rather than, again, sitting and thinking about it and pontificating.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Have you ever felt that, or have you ever been held accountable by a mentor?
I think absolutely yes. And I think those are the best kinds of mentors, because a lot of the time mentors can be fantastic at giving you information, and then, you're kind of left to your own devices to, okay, what do I do with it? When it comes to accountability, I think it feeds into this concept of, just getting things done. And that is, honestly, that is the best way to identify things. Like, you might go on a million courses, composite courses, implants, aligners, whatever it's going to be. Unless you actually do it on a patient, you're not going to know if you're any good at it. Same thing here. You might gather all this, you might assimilate all this knowledge, all these insights. You might have got over the big hurdle of, I don't know what to do now, and you've found what you like. Until you actually do something, and as you said, hold yourself accountable and have someone hold you accountable, you're never going to know if you're actually good at it or if it's something that you can explore. And with me in my own life, I think a lot of the time it's been someone just saying, okay, well, that sounds cool. What next? It's a cool idea. I think there's this, this whole concept of, look, a great idea is, they're everywhere. Ideas are fantastic, but the execution is the hard bit. And that comes a lot in startups. It comes a lot in business. It comes a lot in people that are highly successful. They may have fantastic ideas, but they are actually worth absolutely nothing unless you can execute on them and build them up. So I would urge anyone, and I think this concept has come a lot, today, to understand that you just need to go and do something. Now, what you're doing doesn't have to be perfect off the get-go. You might start and realize halfway through, actually, you know what? I set myself this target. I'm not quite there. But at least you can say that you're doing something and you're learning from it on the go, rather than kind of, as you said, like just sitting back thinking, oh, I'd like to do this. Yeah, you'll never get anywhere. You kind of just stay static and paralyzed by fear in the next step. You just, it's one step at a time.
Yeah. And maybe if you don't have someone holding you accountable, maybe just ask a friend.
Yeah.
Or
100%.
Or put it in the
100%.
diary and have a little reminder that tells you, at this point you said you were going to do this, and I think that really helps, because you did make a good point earlier, like you have to create time for this. It's on top of the things that you're doing, so there has to be dedicated, focused, relentless commitment to doing this. You don't get any of this for free. So I think maybe it's interesting and helpful at this point to talk about your journey into your first healthcare startup, which is 32Co, and actually explaining what happened during that journey, because I think when you first arrived about a year ago, we were met with young Dr. Faris, who didn't know anything about how startups worked, where even to begin, but with a ton of enthusiasm and a relentless desire to do something interesting and useful. And I always say here, we hire people, not roles. If someone comes with that level of grit and determination, you're welcome here. We'll find something for you to do. So what happened in the beginning, and then what did you learn about startups throughout your time here?
Okay, so it's kind of like a butterfly effect, whatever it's called. So it all started last year. Actually, it's really funny. End of last year, like around August time, I decided, I'm going to use LinkedIn. I'm going to do something. So on my LinkedIn, I remember I put something about like my social media stuff, my blog writing that I was doing for a company. And suddenly I get a lovely message on LinkedIn saying, hey, hi Faris, I've seen you do this kind of content stuff. Would you like to write some stuff for 32Co? So hopped on a call. It's like, okay, this company sounds pretty amazing. This is really cool. Back to what I was saying, like one of my goals and things that I found interesting that you just keep in your subconscious was I'd like to do something in the startup world. Something like that would be cool. So after the conversation, I think on the call, I literally told Fred, who was on the call, I said, hey, honestly, like, can I work here? Like, I just want to I don't know what to do. I don't know how I'd be valuable, but I will literally do anything. I'll be very honest, at that point, I was like, look, I will literally just come, show up, sit down and just listen, because I just thought this would be an amazing opportunity. And then from there, I came into the office in a shirt, and I remember the day I came in, I was trying to work out what should I wear. I came in like a really nice shirt and some trousers, and I was like, oh, wow. Slightly overdressed it. Had my interview. And then from there, I started off just working at 32Co. And it began with something I was, confident and comfortable with, which was blog writing. I remember speaking to Josh, who's on the team. He would set me tasks. I remember at the beginning, even though I'd done writing before, I was very nervous. I was like, oh God, I don't want to mess this up. I need to make sure I do a good job. And I guess throughout the entire year, it's given me an opportunity to continuously reevaluate what I was doing. So I reevaluated. I was like, okay, cool. First off, it was like, let's just do a bit of blog writing for us. Then it came to, okay, Faris, cool. We're going to do some more advanced articles for LinkedIn. I want you to do like 1,000-word posts. And then it got to a point where I was like, hey, Josh, Sonia, is there anything else I can do? And through just constant, changing and iterating and finding what I like and what things I was good at, we got to a stage where I'm, now more on the commercial side, helping dentists get into 32Co, get insights into what we do, helping build up our commercial team. And it's kind of reached a point now where if I reflect a year ago and look at where I am now, I wouldn't have expected that. I wasn't really sure where I was going to be. And it's been pretty fantastic. And it's come from this whole idea of, even though there were points where I felt like, oh God, I need to do more. I was failing in my head, or I need to, I'm not sure what to do next. I just continuously found the next thing. I was like, okay, cool. Faris, you've done this. You've done a good job. What else can you do that's a bit different? That's a bit out of your comfort zone. And that's this whole idea of like this progressive overload of tasks and skills. I was thinking, okay, what's the next thing I can do that's a little bit more difficult? Will help the company a bit more, and at the same time will force me to step up my game. And that's, you know, that's this whole idea of accountability as well. I was holding myself accountable. I was like, okay, cool. Last month you did this. This month you need to try something new. I need to go to Sonia and be like, hey, you know, is there anything I can do that would be interesting or useful? And it's been fantastic. I think in this year, it's helped me get insights into what startups are really like. It's allowed me to really develop my own personal skills. I've learned a lot more about dentists, about us, Groovy Gang. And it's given me a lot more confidence to say, you know, I am a dentist first and foremost, but at the same time, I have an external skill set. I have new things that I've developed now that I can use in all walks of life. And that's something very exciting and, you know, a privilege that I get to have as a result of, you know, just one little message on LinkedIn that came from a blog post that I did after speaking to a dentist 2 years ago. So yes, it's all very interesting.
I think that's a super important point. And look, I think you've had a really real tour through startup life here, and you've been exposed to, like you say, the commercial team, you've been exposed to product, you've been exposed to tech, like you've got to see the inner workings. And I think opening one's eyes to that really makes you feel like you have control over your next step. For a lot of people, I think lacking that sense of control, that like, well, I don't know what I don't know, is the challenge. And to your point, like it could just be a blog post or a simple phone call that sets in motion a sequence of events where the right people recognize your enthusiasm and talent and want to grab hold of that with two hands. So as someone looking in, I could see from the very first day that you had the grit and what it took, and that it wouldn't really matter. And more importantly, and this is maybe the most important thing, the humility to say, I don't care what I do. Just anything, and I'll probably figure it out. And if I don't, I know that you guys are going to be there to kind of help and guide me. But I'm not too proud to go and do something like spell check a blog, because if that's what it takes and if that's what's useful, I'm probably going to learn something from that. So I think anyone, again, in your situation, who is looking for something like that, remembering that the smallest thing could set in motion a sequence of events that ends up way out left field doing something really, really fascinating. Never being too humble to do something that you think maybe is beneath you and maybe not even get paid for it. I think those are kind of the magic ingredients 100%. To going forward. So I guess what's next for you? You've achieved it all.
Not quite yet. I think the next step now is, again, this whole idea of, you know, this progressive overload of life and achievement, which is just to build my own kind of things that I enjoy. Still sticking within dentistry, still exploring the field, seeing what things I can do, change, doing a slightly different way. But also, you know, when you've been in a startup for a year, you kind of fall in love with the whole concept, the you know, the quick thinking, the ways that you have to adapt extremely quickly and make changes. And there's a feeling of euphoria and ecstasy that you get when you solve a really difficult problem that I've not really experienced anywhere else. So I think I'm just going to keep chasing that feeling, and that comes from these businesses that I've mentioned that I want to explore and build out. I want to get back onto my social media grind and see what I can do relating to this style of content in terms of, you know, how can you diversify, do things a bit differently? Because I feel a lot of people get paralyzed and think that, oh God, I don't want to leave what I have. And that's not what I'm preaching at all. I'm not saying, hey, look, you said you're a good communicator, ditch dentistry, do something else. But rather understanding that not everything is defined in a really clear box. Not every dentist is the same dentist. We're all very, very different people. And the way that you can find what you're really, really unique and good at only comes from exploration. It's actually impossible to do without it. If you keep thinking to yourself, well, you know, what I'm doing right now is fantastic, you're going to be fantastic at what you do currently. And that is it. It's the full stop. So yeah, for me, it's going to be continuously exploring what's the next thing, you know, trying and surely failing at what I'm going to do next and enjoying it and learning from it. And also I think it's going to be it's going to be different, because obviously now it's kind of like the next chapter, and I'm not too sure what's next. But all I do know is I think I've got, you know, I've got enough in my arsenal where I'm ready to go at anything that comes in my way, and I'm excited to just go head on and keep the same, you know, ethos of, look, get it done. However you get it done, just get it done. Finish it, get the job done, and do a good job. That's kind of how I think about it.
Yeah, I love it. And when we then think about if all of our clinicians, and I'm including medics in that as well, because we do have an epidemic of unhappy clinicians. in the UK particularly, but all around the world, if we could instill that in all of our clinicians, this sense of control, of empowerment, that you're doing not just the thing that you set out to do when you first started your career, but also other things that make you happy, I think we're going to find a much more fulfilled, much stronger workforce that does a better job for patients. I mean, everything that we do here at 32Co is about empowering clinicians, because we know that if you have a happy clinician, they will do amazing work for their patients. You don't need to do much else, right? That's kind of why you go into this profession. If we look after our dentists, if we look after our medics as well, the results will come. And everyone will be better off. So you're also not kind of abandoning your patients by taking that step to also look after yourself and make sure that you're going into work motivated and happy every day. You're actually doing a good job, I think, for them as well. And I mean, for what it's worth, it's probably worth talking about money as well, because it's a really important part of the equation. And it's my personal view that although money is important to everyone, and more money is often better, but there is a limit. And at some point, more money doesn't solve the problem of unhappiness with where you are in your career.
That's true.
So I think for a lot of people, it's probably worth thinking about to what extent, where am I happy in terms of my finances? And then all the extra time that I would spend making even more money, could I put that into something that's actually going to make me really, really happy, that maybe generates no income? And potentially that means working with a charity, or that means doing a different hobby. You've done charity work as well, haven't you?
Charity, I think, is in terms of my own kind of long-term goals, my vision, if everything goes to plan, you never know, maybe I'll look back at this and be like, what were you thinking, right? But my vision would be to kind of build my own startup, invest time, invest effort, make a few sacrifices with the eventual strategy to exit. And then after that, I'd just love to spend the rest of my life just doing some charity work. I'm originally from Egypt, so giving back to the community there. Even currently with what I do, I have my own charity. It's called Reformation Charity, where we kind of empower university students to do charity work and teach them how they can do practical work in the UK and abroad to be a little bit more impactful with those around them. So a lot of the time with the charity, you'll put £5, £10 a month into X cause, but you won't necessarily see where it goes. Our mission is to get young adults, mobilize them, get them ready to go. It's kind of, charity is such an important thing. It's amazing. You feel very whole when you complete something that you're very passionate about and you're helping someone else out with. It would be my absolute dream to, maybe I'm not going to give an age, but some portion of my future, once I've, achieved what I'd like to achieve, to just dedicate my life to that. That'll be, a great way to end things. Amazing final note. So thank you, Faris, for an amazing episode. Lots of really useful insights. And I hope that together we have delved sufficiently into the challenge of finding fulfillment and finding things within dentistry and outside of dentistry that don't take you away from inside, but make your entire career more fulfilling, and help you answer that question of kind of, I feel like I've got loads more to give. Where do I put all this energy? So for those who want to find out more about what you're doing, you've got a YouTube channel, various other bits. So where can they find out what you're doing? So in terms of content, things that I'm producing, just Faris, Faris, Dent, Dent. Don't worry, not getting rid of that anytime soon. Just YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all the lovely social media. And in terms of, the business side of things, if you're really interested, one's called Auralyze.ai. That is for anyone that's looking to apply into the dental world, dental field, and is looking, just for a bit of extra support. And Glynts, which is an up and coming toothpaste tab brand / oral biohacking, all that kind of fun stuff, which you can find on any social media. So that's kind of where you can keep track of what's going on. Amazing, Faris. Well, we'll just finish off with 3 quick-fire questions. Your 3 top tips for a young dentist like yourself who's looking to add or maybe pivot into something less conventional as a career or as a personal goal. Okay, so tip number 1 is, gather knowledge. So look at what you do well, find out what you enjoy, and do research into things that you like and get more insights into what careers are out there and what options you can take. That's the first step. Step 2 is find someone that's doing it better. So look for a mentor, and by mentor I mean anyone that is slightly more experienced than you in that field. Speak to them, set up a Zoom call, get a Google Meet going, hound at least, my tip is message at least 150 people in that particular role. I bet you'll get one answer. And the final one is to just do, whenever you find that thing that you enjoy, don't sit on it. Don't wait till tomorrow. Do it right there and then. And if that literally means going on Instagram and taking a handle related to the business or concepts you want, do that right away and it will grow from there.
Amazing feedback. Amazing episode, Faris. So that was it for another episode of Modern Dentist. You can follow us at Modern Dentist Podcast on Instagram. Leave us comments, leave us feedback, let us know who you'd like us to bring in next. But we've got a whole roster of really interesting and exciting guests to come for the rest of the year. So look forward to seeing you then.